Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dark Domain. Now I know a lot of you these videos to sleep. So before you drift off, I thought it would be a fun idea. If everyone could leave a comment to let me know where you are listening from in the world. Also like and subscribe if you are enjoying the episode. Right, let's get comfy and relaxed and let's. The wind carried a chill through the empty streets, whistling softly between the flickering streetlights. The city had always felt quiet at this hour, as if the world had momentarily forgotten it existed. She walked her usual route home, her footsteps echoing against the pavement. Then she saw it. A piece of paper, ragged and stained, clung desperately to a telephone pole. The ink was smudged from time and weather, but the bold letters at the top remained clear, missing. Her gaze traced the image beneath the word, and the breath in her lungs froze. It was her face. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stepped closer, fingers trembling as they touched the damp paper. The details beneath the photo sent a fresh wave of dread through her veins, missing since 3 years ago. Her name printed in bold, the same name she had answered to every day. The same name she had written on documents, signed on checks, heard from friends. But she had never been missing, had she? A sickening unease curled inside her stomach. She tried to recall anything from 3 years ago, but the memories seemed distant, blurred like an old photograph left in the rain. Every moment she could recall, every interaction, every place she had been, all started within that time frame. Before that, nothing, a void. The air grew thick around her, suffocating. A sensation crawled over her skin, the unmistakable feeling of being watched. Slowly, she lifted her eyes. Across the street, beneath the dying glow of a flickering lamp, stood a shadow. It was motionless, featureless, yet she could feel its gaze burning into her. She turned sharply, the missing poster crumpling in her hand as she hurried away. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of the impossible. Had her entire life been a fabrication? If she had gone missing, where had she been? And, more importantly, who had brought her back? The wind howled louder as she vanished into the night, but the poster remained, fluttering in the wind like a forgotten whisper of something she was never meant to find. The apartment felt different when she stepped inside, as if the air had thickened in her absence. The familiar scent of lavender candles and stale coffee lingered, but beneath it was something else, something damp, decayed, like old wood rotting beneath the surface. She locked the door behind her, heart still racing, the crumpled missing poster clenched in her hand. Sitting on the couch, she spread it out on the table, smoothing the creases. The ink had smudged slightly, but the words remained the same. Missing 3 years ago, the face was still hers. The name was still hers, but her memories of the past said otherwise. A cold sweat formed on her skin as she grabbed her phone. She scrolled through her messages. Her call logs, every record began exactly 3 years ago. Nothing from before, no childhood photos, no old emails. Even her bank transactions started abruptly, as if she had simply materialized into existence that day. Her breathing quickened. She checked her social media, every post, every interaction, all from within the same time frame. It was as if the life she thought she had lived was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. She needed confirmation, something solid. She dialed her best friend's number, the one she had called countless times before. The phone rang once, twice, then a flat, mechanical voice responded. "This number is not in service." Confused, she searched for her friend's profile online. Nothing. No record of her existence. Panic clawed at her throat. She tried another number. A coworker disconnected. Another, no records found. Her hands trembled as she dialed her mother's number, her last hope. The call connected, but the voice on the other end was not her mother's. It was a deep, distorted static, whispering something she couldn't understand. The phone screen flickered before shutting off completely. The room darkened. Her reflection in the television screen no longer matched her movements. It stood there frozen, staring at her with wide, unblinking eyes. The edges of her reflection wavered like a rippling surface, its mouth slightly parted as if it were about to speak. A sharp knock at the door made her flinch. The sound was too slow, too deliberate. She turned toward it, her pulse thundering in her ears. But something told her whatever was knocking wasn't human. The knocking stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than before, pressing against her ears like a thick fog. She sat frozen, staring at the door, waiting for anything to break the unbearable quiet. But nothing came. No footsteps walking away. No rustling of movement, just an unnatural stillness, as if the world outside her apartment had ceased to exist. Then she felt it, a presence. Something was watching her. She turned her head slowly toward the window. The curtains were slightly parted, revealing the night beyond. The street was empty. No cars, no pedestrians, just the lonely glow of the streetlights stretching down the road. But then she saw it. A figure stood on the sidewalk, directly across from her building. It wasn't moving, it wasn't breathing, just standing there, facing her window, watching. Her skin prickled with a deep, instinctive dread. The longer she stared, the more wrong it felt. The figure had no defining features. No face, no clothes, just a black silhouette darker than the night around it. It seemed to absorb the light, avoid where a person should be. She swallowed hard, her breath shallow. She wanted to look away, but she couldn't. It was as if the figure had rooted itself into her mind. Then, without warning, her phone buzzed violently on the table. She flinched, tearing her gaze from the window. The screen was completely black except for one message. Stop looking. Her pulse pounded as she glanced back at the street. The figure was closer. No longer on the sidewalk, but now at the base of her building. It hadn't moved. It had simply shifted. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She grabbed her phone with shaking fingers, trying to dial for help, but the screen flickered, lines of static crawling across it before the message changed. You were never meant to see. A sharp creak echoed through the apartment. The closet door. She hadn't opened it. Her breath hitched. Slowly, she turned her head toward the dark sliver of space behind the barely opened door. A single glowing eye stared back at her from the darkness, and blinking, filled with something beyond human comprehension. The world around her seemed to twist, her vision blurring at the edges, her ears ringing with a low, inhuman whisper. The walls of her apartment pulsed as if alive. The eye in the closet did not belong to anything that should exist. Then, the knock came again. But this time, it was from inside the apartment. The knocking didn't stop this time. It was slow, deliberate, and coming from somewhere inside her apartment. She felt paralyzed, her body frozen between the pull of logic and the crushing weight of terror. The closet door remained slightly open, the glowing eye within unblinking, waiting. Her phone lay useless in her trembling hands, the screen dead, a hollow black void reflecting her wide-eyed horror. Something shifted in the air, a pressure so deep it made her ears pop. The walls of her apartment felt closer, breathing, bending inward. The knocking turned into scratching, long, deliberate strokes against the wooden floor. She could hear it now, something crawling. But from where? The closet, the walls, beneath her. A cold shudder ran down her spine as she forced herself to move, her limbs heavy and sluggish, like she was sinking into an unseen force. She stepped back, her foot pressing into the floorboards only for them to creak and sink beneath her weight. The ground gave way. The floorboards bent, softened, as if something underneath was pushing, stretching, reaching for her. She wasn't standing on solid ground. She was standing on something alive. A memory, or something like it, flooded into her mind. A damp, dark space, cold hands dragging her down. The weight of soil pressing against her skin, buried. She had been buried. Her breath came in ragged gasps. She looked around desperately. The apartment was warping, shifting, unraveling into something not real. The walls peeled away like old wallpaper, revealing something beneath dirt, roots, decay. The apartment was nothing but a shell, a carefully constructed lie. And then she heard it, a whisper. No, not a whisper of memory clawing its way to the surface. A voice, muffled by earth and time. Her own voice, screaming, begging, the weight of something heavy pressing on her chest. The sound of nails clawing at wood, and then silence. She had died here. Or at least, a part of her had. Her body shook as she turned toward the closet, toward the glowing eye. It wasn't a monster. It was her. The part of her that had been left behind. The truth she had forgotten. The life that had been erased. The knocking stopped. The floor cracked open beneath her. The floor gave way beneath her, and she plummeted into darkness. Cold, damp air rushed past her as she fell, her body weightless in the abyss. The world above the apartment, the city, the life she thought was real collapsed into nothing. The deeper she fell, the more she felt herself unraveling, her memories flickering like dying embers, vanishing before she could grasp them. Then she hit the ground, not with a painful impact, but with a suffocating weight, soiled, damp, heavy, and familiar. She tried to move, but the dirt clung to her like hands, pulling her down, pressing against her mouth, filling her lungs. She gasped, but no, it came only the taste of decay and forgotten things. And then she remembered everything. She had been here before, 3 years ago. A life that wasn't hers had been stitched together, fabricated to cover up what had truly happened. She had died. Something had buried her. And now, it was in doing the lie. A figure loomed above her in the shadows, its form shifting and incomplete, as if it existed outside the edges of reality. It had no face, yet she knew it. It had been watching her from the beginning, waiting for her to see the truth. It was the architect of her false existence. The air around her trembled as the thing leaned closer. You were never meant to come back. The words weren't spoken, they were felt, pressing against her bones, sinking into the marrow. The soil beneath her split open further, revealing not just dirt, but a reflection. Her reflection, but the woman staring back wasn't her. Not anymore. She was looking at who she had been. Eyes wide with terror, hands clawing at the earth. A corpse left to rot. Her body began to dissolve, unraveling like thread pulled from a fraying tapestry. The memories, the people, the life she had believed was real, all of it fading. She tried to hold on, but there was nothing to grasp. Her fingers passed through the air like smoke. The last thing she saw before the darkness swallowed her whole was her own missing person poster, crumpled in the dirt, the ink bleeding into the soil. The date was still there, and changed. 3 years ago, and then she was gone.